Dear second year students at the Faculty of Commerce, Alexandria University, the English section. This is Dr. Ali Muslim, and in this lecture we'll talk about the last topic in the organizational behavior course, which is leadership. And chapter 15 talks about leadership, and in this chapter first we'll see the definition of leadership, and also we'll see the characteristics of good leaders. Then we'll talk about the different theories that try to describe and explain leadership. We'll start with the trait theory of leadership. This theory assumes leadership as a personality trait, and they describe or they provide different characteristics of leaders. They just differentiate between leaders and non-leaders. Later on, another group of theories called the behavioral theories of leadership, they said that actually it doesn't matter what leaders are, which is more important what leaders do. And this is why this kind of theories focus more on the leaders' behavior, what they do, instead of what they are. And here we have different approaches of behavioral leadership. Also, later on, another group of scholars, they said that actually what leaders do is important, and what is more important is what leaders do when, in which situation. This is why they introduced the situation to the leadership theories, and this is why we call these kind of theories the situational theories of leadership. More recently, there are many theories. We don't have a title for them right now, but this is why we call them the contemporary theories of leadership, such as the charismatic leadership theory, the transactional theory, transformational theory, and the leader-member exchange theory. These are different recently developed leadership theories. At the end of the chapter, we will raise very important and very interesting question. Is leadership really important for organizations? What do you think? Think about this question, and in the last slide in this lecture you will see the answers. Okay? Let us start with the definition. What is leadership? Very simple. Leadership is the process of influencing others to facilitate the achievement of organizational goals. So the leadership is a process, and the objective of leadership is to achieve organizational goals. How? By influencing others. The word influencing here, not necessarily to be force others to do something, but to persuade others, to encourage others, to inspire others to do something in order to achieve the organizational goals. With this definition in mind, we'll see that there are many characteristics of good leaders. The characteristics of leaders of effective groups are: if you have a group of people, if you belong to a group of people in the university, in the faculty, or in any social group, you may find some people usually take the lead and the others follow. If you keep one of these people in mind, you'll find that these people usually have a certain characteristics. First, they provide direction and the meaning to the people they are leading. Good leaders, effective leaders, usually provide direction to people. They tell people in which direction they should go. They usually recommend, they usually suggest something for the organization, for the situation to be better. They usually point to the direction of action. Also, they generate trust. Building mutual trust between the leader and the follower is one of the most characteristics of good leaders. They can easily generate, they can easily build this kind of trust. They trust themselves first, and they trust others, and they have the ability to make others trust them. Also, they are risk takers. They favor action and taking risk taken. But keep in mind that they are not gamblers, by the way. Yes, they usually take actions, and they usually take calculated risk. Yes, they have the ability, they have, the skill to anticipate things and also to take some risk. And as you know, no pain, no gain. This is why they usually take calculated risk, and they usually achieve their goals. Finally, good leaders usually are providers of hope. In the middle of the crisis, they can usually see the hope of the solution. In the middle of the problem, they can easily see different ways out. These people usually give others the hope that tomorrow will be better than today. Now, we'll talk about the different theories or different approaches of leadership. And the first approach called the trait approach of leadership. Actually, this is a very old theory, it has been called the great man theory. They describe leaders as great men, According to this theory, there are a certain number of individual traits of effective leaders. And these characteristics, these traits, can be classified into three groups: intellectual abilities, intelligence. Those people are usually smart, so they have the ability for judgment. They can estimate a situation. They can easily, make their judgment concerning any situation. Decisiveness. Once they determine a goal, they work hard until they reach it. And also, those people are knowledgeable. They have technical skills, technical knowledge, and also administrative knowledge. They know, they are familiar with the situation. They are familiar with the technicalities of their work. Also, there are some personality traits like adaptability. They can easily adapt themselves to the situation. Alertness, they can expect anything. They keep an eye on what's going on in the environment and the organization. Also, they are creative, but if they are not creative, they usually hire creative people. Also, they have the personal integrity, and they are self-confident. These are some personality traits or personality characteristics. In addition to some social characteristics such as cooperativeness, they usually give hand when people need it. They also can easily build a good relationship with others. They have very high social skills. They have communication skills. They can easily, build friends. They can easily build good relationship. In addition to diplomacy, they can estimate the situation. They can make the right decision, and they usually find a solution for any problem. This is the first theory called the trait theory, or the trait approach of leadership. Later on, as I mentioned at the beginning of the lecture, some scholars say that it's better to focus on what leaders do instead of what leaders are. This is why a new approach of leadership came to exist, which is the behavioral approach. In the behavioral approach, we usually recognize two contributions. The first contribution came from the Michigan University, and this is why we call it the Michigan Studies. They collected data from different organizations in order to find the different styles of leadership. And this is the first time we talk about the leadership style. And after they collected data from different organizations and different departments, they classify the leadership style into two groups. The first style, called the employee-centered leadership style. The second one, called the production-centered leadership style. Here, they collected data about the supervision in some departments, and one of the biggest organizations in the States. And they discovered that some supervisors pay more attention to people, and this is why they call it employee centers. They place a strong emphasis on people and subordinates' welfare. They have, the assumption that when I pay attention to my people, when I satisfy my people's needs, my people will not let me down, and this is why I can easily achieve the organization goals by being nice with my people. And this is why they call it the people or employee-centered. Actually, there are many titles for this. Sometimes we call it employee-centered, the people-centered, relationship-oriented. They are the same. The second style of leadership, called the production-centered. Sometimes we call it task-oriented supervisors. They place strong emphasis on getting the work done. The assumption here is it doesn't matter the relationship between me and my people. If I organized the work very well, and if I brought the resources, the material, the equipments, and I planned the work very well, I will be effective, So the personal relationship, keep it outside the workplace. But inside the workplace, it's better to focus on the production. It's better to focus on the task itself. This is why they call it production-centered or task-oriented leadership style. On the same line of research, and almost at the same time, there was another group of researchers at Ohio State University. They also tried to find out the different styles of leadership. They collected data from different organizations, from different organization levels, and they came up with two dimensions of leadership. The first dimension is called the consideration dimension of leadership, which is the sensitivity to people's feelings and the making things pleasant for the followers. And if you read this, if you focus on this, you will find that the consideration dimension is very similar to the employee-centered leadership at the Michigan studies, right? And the Michigan study focus on the first style focuses on the people. And this is why you call it employee or people-oriented. Here, consideration is almost the same. To be sensitive to people's feelings, emotions, and making the workplace very pleasant, So to pay attention to people more than the task itself. The second dimension in the Ohio State University studies is the initiating structure, concerned with spelling out the task requirements and clarifying other aspects of the work agenda. Also, this is very similar to the production-centered leadership style or task-oriented, to focus more on the task, to explain the task requirements, to provide people with the material, with the equipments, and to focus more on the work agenda instead of focusing on people. And this is also very similar to the second dimension at the Michigan studies, which is the production-centered or the task-oriented. These are almost the two basic leadership styles in the first groups of studies in this regard. Later on, many studies came up with different leadership styles such as the democratic leadership, the autocratic leadership style, bureaucratic leadership styles, and many, many others. But let us focus only on this for the sake of this course on these two studies. The Michigan University, and it came up with the employee-centered and production-centered. Ohio State studies, they came up with the consideration and initiating structure leadership style. Later on, another group of theories came to exist, which are the situational theories of leadership. According to the situational leadership style, the situation is very important. So they consider the two different leadership styles according to the Ohio State University and the Michigan University, but they push the field a little bit forward. They advocate that leaders understand their own behavior, this is the leadership style, the behavior of their subordinates, and the situation before utilizing a particular leadership style. So they consider the situation before they decide to use any leadership style to be more task-oriented or people-oriented. According to these are the key situational leadership theories here. This is a very short list of the situational leadership theories. The first is the Fiedler's contingency leadership model or theory, you can call it. The Robert House's path goal theory, and the Hirsch and Blanchard's situational leadership theory. And then Fiedler's contingency leadership theory, the Robert House, the path goal theory, and Hirsch and Blanchard situational theory. We'll talk about each one of these theories in more details. First, we'll talk about the Fiedler's contingency leadership model. According to Fiedler, the performance of groups is dependent on the interaction between two dimensions, the leadership style and the situational favorableness. I will explain the word favorableness later on, but here keep in mind that the situation here has two dimensions, the leadership style and the situation, okay? Fiedler used the two traditional leadership styles according to Ohio State or Michigan State, whatever it is. So the leadership styles are first the task-oriented leadership style and the relationship-oriented leadership style, and you can call it, employees leadership style or people-oriented leadership style. Okay. According to Fiedler, the situation has three dimensions. The first dimension is the leader-member relationship. The second, the task structure. The third one is the power position. What are these dimensions? I will explain it to you, and I will explain the word favorableness in this context. Here are the three dimensions. The leader-member relationship, the leader-member relations, the task structure, and the position power. What is the meaning of the leader-member relationship? This is one of the dimensions of any situation. You can think about any situation in terms of, first, the leader-member relationship is the relationship between the leader and the followers and the member. The member is good or bad. In some situations, there is a good relationship between the leader and the subordinates. If the leader came from within the group, and there is a good social relationship between the leader and the follower, then the relationship will be good. Sometimes the relationship between the leader and the members are poor, are bad. Sometimes the leader comes from outside the group, outside the organization, outside the department, and people do not like this person. So it is one of the possible situations that people do not like their leaders. These are two alternatives here. The leader-member relationship can be good or poor. The second dimension of the situation is the task structure. What is the meaning of the task structure? If the task is very easy to achieve, very well designed or not. If I ask you to take some papers and go to the copy center in the corner, make 10 copies and come back. Is it a difficult task or easy task? It is very easy task. In advance what the steps are going to do and the results of your efforts. But if I ask you to go to, for example, the CIB bank, and negotiate with the top managers there about, a student loan, is it an easy task? No, it is not an easy task. What the meaning of good deal in student loans? And what will be the best conditions, the best interest rate? This is very difficult to determine. So this kind of task is not well structured, So because there are many, questions you have to raise and, we have to make many decisions. So the task can be highly structured or low structured, okay? The position power. Does the leader enjoy power, influence, authority in his positions or not? Sometimes people in a position, but yet they do not have any power to reward the people or to punish people. Like in public organizations, some, low-level leaders or low-level managers, they don't have any power to reward or to punish their people. So their position is powerless. So in some situation, yes, the leader has the power and the position gives the job holder, the leader, power, authority, and also the personality trait here is very important. Does the leader enjoy this kind of personality that can easily influence others or not? So the position power can be strong or weak. Here I will come to the word favorableness, the situational favorableness. Which situation will be the most favorable, the most, easy situation for a leader? Look at here. The most favorable situation will be where the leader-member relationship is good, in green color, and the task structure is high, the task is very easy, and the position power is strong. So the relationship is good, also the task is very easy and highly structured, and also the leader enjoys very strong authority. This is the most favorable situation. What is the least favorable situation? What is the situation that leaders usually avoid to be in? This situation is characterized as, first, the leader-member relationship is poor, So there is no good relationship between you and your people. Second, the task is very low structured, very difficult, and also you don't have power. So the position power is weak. So the least favorable situation will be where the relationship is bad or poor, the task structure is low and the position power is weak. These are two extremes. One of them, the green color, this is the most favorable one. And the other extreme, the least favorable situation where the relationship is poor, the task structure is low, and the position power is weak. Then, if there is a combination of these three dimensions, how many situations you will come with? If you try it, you will find. So if you try it, you will find that there are 8 different situations. The situation number at the left-hand side, the situation is the most favorable. The leader-member relationship is good, the task is highly structured, and the position power is strong. The least favorable one, situation number 8 in red, at the right-hand side, the relationship is poor, the task structure is low, and the position power is weak. In between these two extremes, you may find there are 6 other situations. In order to make it easy for you to do it, to do the combination of the 3 dimensions in order to create these 8 situations, look at the first row here, the leader-member relationship. 4 of them, the first 4, where the relationship is good, the other 4 is where the relationship is poor. The task structure, we reorganize them. The first 2 is high, the second 2 is low. Get back to, with the poor relationship, too high and too low. The position power, 1 strong and 1 weak, strong, weak, strong, weak, strong, weak. Also they are 4, but this is the combination. The question here is, in which situation the production-centered or the task-oriented leadership style will be the best, and in which situation the people-oriented, the relationship-oriented leadership style is the best. This is the question Fiedler tried to answer, and he provided the answer in the following model. This is the model. This is the graphic representation of the Fiedler model. Look at the bottom part of the model. This is nothing new here. I already explained this. These are the 8 situations. From situation number 1, the most favorable, good, high, and strong, and the least favorable situation number 8, poor, low, and weak, and in between the other situations. In order to answer the question which leadership style is the best, here look at the 2 leadership styles. The task-oriented leadership style is presented here in this model with the dotted line. The relationship-oriented style is presented here as a continuous line. In the first say 3 situations, situation number 1, 2, and almost 3. The dotted line is greater than the continuous line. It means the task-oriented relationship is better than the task-oriented leadership is better than the relationship-oriented leadership style. It means in situation number 1 and 2 and 3 also, it's better to be task-oriented. Then in situation number 4, 5, 6, the continuous line is greater than the dotted line, the continuous line is higher than the dotted line. It means the relationship-oriented leadership style is better than the task-oriented. So in situation number 4, 5, and 6, it's better to be relationship-oriented. It's better to be people-oriented. And situation number 7 and 8, one more time, the dotted line is higher than the continuous one. It means that the task-oriented leadership style is better than the relationship-oriented style. So this is the theory. The point here is for each situation there is a better leadership style according to Fiedler. But we have a dilemma here. The dilemma is how come in these two extremes, situation number 1 and situation number 8, the same leadership style is the best, the task-oriented. So if the situation is most favorable, task-oriented leadership style will be the best. If the situation is least favorable, also the task-oriented leadership style is the best. How come? They asked Fiedler about this question, and he said that this is the outcomes of the statistical analysis of data. If you don't trust the theory, then test the theory by yourself. And those who used the same methodology, collected the data the same way, analyzed the data the same way, they came up with the same results. For the sake of this course, I will stop in here, just to remember that in these two extremes, the task-oriented leadership style is the best. This is the beauty of the Fiedler model, as it was the first situational model in the leadership theories, and this is the first situational theory. Robert House introduced another situational theory. He called it the path-goal theory, the path-goal leadership theory. According to Robert House, the situation has two dimensions. The first dimension is the environmental contingency factors. The second dimension contains the subordinate contingency factors. So some contingency factors come from the environment, other contingency factors come from the subordinates. And here are the environmental contingency factors. The first is the task structure. This is, in order to make it simple, this is like Fiedler. To what extent the task is well organized, planned, etc. The second environmental factor is the formal authority system. And this is very similar to the possession power. The third environmental factor is the work group. Is it cohesive or uncohesive? The combination, the structure of the group, the membership of the group itself. The other dimension contains the subordinate contingency factors, such as the locus of control. Do you remember chapter 2 when we talked about the individual differences? And one of the individual differences sources is the locus of control. To what extent do you believe in luck? So one of the situational factors is the subordinate locus of control, locus of control. The second is the amount of and the kind of experience, the work experience the subordinates have, in addition to the perceived ability, the self-efficacy. To what extent the people believe, trust that they have the ability to finish the task successfully. These are the two situational dimensions. This is according to the path-goal theory. These are the two dimensions of the situation. According to Robert House, the outcome of any leadership style should be two things. First, the performance. Second, satisfaction. So the target or the goal of any leader is to improve people's satisfaction. But sometimes he may push people to work hard and to achieve results, but people will not be happy. And this is why Robert House included job satisfaction as one of the criteria to measure leadership effectiveness. So the outcomes, according to the path goal theory, has two dimensions: the performance, the better, high performance, effective performance, and job satisfaction. And this is the target. This is why he called it the path goal theory. This is the goal of any leader, to improve people performance and also to improve their level of job satisfaction. How this can be achieved? Robert House introduced 4 different styles of leadership. Traditionally there are the people-oriented, task-oriented, but Robert House introduced 4 more styles of leadership. The directive leadership, in which the leader gives orders, commands, tell people what to do. The participative leadership, in this case, the leader invites the subordinates, sharing opinions, information, in order to reach, consensus, to reach one opinion, to let them participate in the decision making, and their opinion should be taken in consideration. Their voice should be listened to. The supportive leadership style, in which the leader usually brings the material, the equipments, facilitates the work environment, and back up people, and if needed. And finally, the achievement-oriented leadership style, in which the leader just establish the goals, the work goals, and let people select any method, any way. He usually empowers people to achieve the goals. He does not intervene in what they do. The point is, in which situation, it's better to be directive, to be participative, achievement-oriented, or supportive. Actually, the theory is very, very complex, but for the sake of this course, we simplified the theory, and here is the results. The directive leadership should be used when the tasks are unclear, when the tasks are new, unclear, ambiguous, so people expect that the leader give them some direction. And this is the directive leadership is very good style in the case of the unclear and new tasks. The supportive leadership style is better when the tasks are frustrating and stressful, plus the group members are apprehensive. So people are caring about the results, people are worried about the results, but the task itself is boring. The task itself is very frustrating. So in order to facilitate the situation, in order to make it easy, the leader should be more supportive to be with the people, to be in the middle of the work itself, to be a group member, not just being a leader, and also to support them, to bring in the material, to make the situation sometimes, to make the situation funny. Yeah, the task itself is frustrating. In order to, eliminate this, the sense of humor is very important in a situation like this, to eliminate or to reduce the stress, the work stress. Participative leadership is better when the tasks are non-repetitive and group members are capable and motivated. So the first here, the leader trusts the people capability, and also people have the enthusiasm, have the motivation to complete the task. So in this case, it's better to be participating. Yeah, I know that my people are capable, my people have the abilities, have the skills. It's better to let them to participate in decision making, especially if the task is non-repetitive, the task is novel, the task is new, the task is a strategic one. So it's better if you trust your people and you believe that your people are capable, they have the ability, the skills, and also they have the energy, they have the motivation to participate and to finish the task successfully. It's better to let them involved and decision making, you know. And the last leadership style, the achievement oriented. This is better when the tasks are unique or entrepreneurial and the group members are competent and committed. So the task here is totally unique, you know, and it is some of it, a part of it is, you know, to take risk, to introduce a new idea. This is why you call it entrepreneurial. So, and if you believe that the group members are competent, they have the skills, they have the abilities, and also they are committed to finish the task successfully, so it's better to just determine the goal, just show them the direction, and let them, you know, empower them to do it the way they like, and for sure they will achieve good results. So these are the 4 leadership styles according to the path goal theory. The next theory is the Hersey and the Blanchard situational leadership model. According to this model, it focuses on the follower readiness. What's the meaning of readiness? Readiness is the extent to which people have the ability and willingness to accomplish a specific task. So the situation here has 2 dimensions. The first dimension is the people ability, whether the subordinates have the ability, the skills, the competences to achieve the task or not. The second dimension is the desire, the motivation. Are they willing to finish the task or not, to complete the task or not? So here we have 2 dimensions, people ability and their willingness. According to the theory, followers can accept or reject the leader. It depends on the situation, and the theory will explain this. And also, the leadership effectiveness depends on the followers' response to the leader's action. You know, so the leader has some actions to do, but people may accept or reject. It depends on what? It depends on their readiness. And as I said, readiness has 2 dimensions, the ability and the willingness. According to this, we have here 4 different situations, and each situation requires a certain leadership style. Look at the model. This is the model. These are the upper part of the model, presents the 4 situations. Situation number 1, where people are unable, unwilling. Remember, readiness has 2 dimensions, the ability and the willingness. And the first situation, and this leaders may face a situation like this. People are unable, they do not have any skills, any abilities, and at the same time, also they don't have the desire, they don't have the motivation. They are unwilling to work, to participate. This is the first situation. The second situation, people are unable, but they are willing. You know, they tell, I want to do something. I want to participate, but I don't know how. I don't have the skills to do it. You know, this is another situation. The third one, people are able, but they are unwilling. What is the problem in this case? They are able, they know how to do the work, but they are lacking motivation. They are unwilling, maybe because the reward system is not good, you know. So this is why they are able to do the work, but they don't have the desire to do it. And the easiest situation where people are both able and willing. They have the skills and also they have the desire. The point is in which situation, what kind of leadership style requires in each situation. In the first situation, people are, and this is the worst situation, people are unable and unwilling at the same time. According to the theory, it's better to use the telling strategy. Telling means to do what? To instruct and to supervise people, to tell people what to do, and also to keep an eye on them. So if people are unwilling and also unable, it's better to give directions, to tell them what to do, and to have close supervision, keep an eye on them. If people are unwilling, unable, but they are willing, it's a matter of abilities here. Sometimes, people are unable, they have the desire, but they don't know how. And it's better, according to the theory, to use the selling strategy to explain and clarify things. Here is a positive point here. They are willing. They have the desire. So it's better to tell them what to do, to explain them, to clarify the task if the task is unclear. When you resolve this kind of problems, they will achieve better. In the third situation, people are able to do the work, and they know that they are able to do the work, and also they may know that they are able to do the work, but they are unwilling to do it because they are lacking motivation. In this case, as long as they are able to do the work, it's better to let them participate in decision making. Don't force them to do something. Just ask them about their opinion. What do you think? How this can be done? This is the sharing, facilitating. You may bring in, resources, equipments, and let them participate. Once they participate in the decision making, because they are able, they will be willing. Why? Because they will be committed to their opinion. They already participated in the decision making. This is why most likely they will do their best in order to achieve the task. The easiest situation where people are able and willing, then it's better do nothing. Just delegate the task to them. This is the task. I trust you, and also you believe that they have the motivation, then just coaching, give assistance, and just if it is needed. If they need something, I will be here for you. But otherwise, complete the task and come back to me after you finish. This is the delegating strategy, So according to this model, 4 leadership styles, 4 situations, And as you see here, each leadership style matches a certain situation. And these are, the 4 strategies. I already explained this. You can read it. Telling means that the leader defines the roles needed to do the job, and it tells followers what, where, how, and when to do it. Selling means to provide followers with structured instructions, and also to be supportive. If they need something, you just be there. Participating means to let them share in decision making in order to complete the task. Delegating means to be very specific. Also, the leader provides little specific close direction or personal support to followers. Just establish the goals, clarify the goals, do not intervene. Let them do because they are able and willing. Delegate the whole thing to them. These are the 4 leadership styles according to the last situational theory. So far we talked about the traits, the leader's traits theory, the leader's characteristic theory, the behavioral theories of leadership, and the situational theories of leadership. Now we will talk about some newly developed theories of leadership. This is why we call this group contemporary theories of leadership. The first, and in my opinion, the most important, as, because this is the base for most of the forthcoming theories, the charismatic leadership theory. What the meaning of the word charisma? You usually hear this word, this person is charismatic, this person is not charismatic. What does the word charisma mean? It means the ability to influence others based on not the authority, not the position, but it is based on the supernatural gift and attractive powers. It is a part of the personality trait. People have charisma. When you see a charismatic leader, you can easily recognize. Do you know any charismatic leaders in our history, for example? I believe some of you mentioned names like, for example, Gamal Abdel Nasser. Gamal Abdel Nasser was a charismatic leader. Everybody knows that Gamal Abdel Nasser was a charismatic leader. Worldwide, Nelson Mandela was a charismatic leader. Also many other leaders, political leaders, social leaders. You can easily recognize charismatic leaders in political life, in social life, and in business as well. These people are not the average people. This is why they have supernatural gift. They have the gift from Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah Azza wa Jal gave it to some very few people. When you see one of them, you say, okay, this is a charismatic person. It has nothing to do with the wealth, for example. Don't think that every rich person is a charismatic. No, people can make money, in different ways. But charisma is something else. It is a supernatural gift, According to the theory, charismatic leaders are those who have charismatic effect on their followers to an unusually high degree. When people find a charismatic leader, they blindly follow because they trust that the leader will take them to a better situation, a better position. Followers enjoy being with the charismatic leader because they feel inspired, correct, and important. Being with the charismatic leader gives you the sense of, ability, the sense of, importance. You feel that you are something, and this is why followers usually enjoy being with the charismatic leader. Actually, we can differentiate between two different types of charisma: visionary charismatic leaders and crisis-based charismatic leaders. When we say visionary, it means that the leader has a vision, and this is long-term objectives. So visionary charismatic leaders focus on the long term. They can see what others cannot. Through communication ability, links follower needs and goals to the job or the organization long-term goals and the possibilities. These people have a vision about the future. They can expect what will happen 10 years from now, or they have a vision about the position the organization can be 5 years, 10 years from now. Some leaders say that I will number one. My organization will be number one in the market after 10 years. These leaders are visionary. They have charisma and they have a visionary charismatic orientation. Other types of charismatic leaders, they exist in the short term. They come in the middle of the crisis. And this is why they call them the crisis-based charismatic leaders. They focus on the short term. They have an impact when the system must handle a situation for which existing knowledge, resources, and the procedures are not adequate. if the situation is not normal, the situation is unusual. In the middle of the crisis, you may find some people, they come to exist, they have solution for something. They have the ability to organize people, to organize resources, to tell them how to do, but this is in the short term. These people may not have a vision about the future, but they can solve immediate tasks. They can resolve immediate crises. This is why you call them crisis-based charismatic leaders. These are the two types of charismatic leadership style. But by the way, this is not a part of the course, but by the way, charisma is not always good. Also, I usually say charisma like blood cholesterol, there is good blood cholesterol and this is bad blood cholesterol. And this is good charisma and there is also bad charisma. When the leader uses his charisma for the sake of the country, for the sake of the organization, for the sake of the work group, this is a positive charisma, But sometimes leaders use their charisma for self-interest, and this is a bad charisma. Bad charisma when leaders use their charisma for self-interest to achieve personal goals, not organizational goals. And this is why we also have good charisma and bad charisma. In addition to the visionary, these are the attributes of the charismatic leaders. First, they have vision, develop visionary thinking. They have this kind of orientation to read the future. Also, they have very good communication skills and they can easily articulate their vision and communicate it to people. They can easily address, people, whatever their organizational levels. They can easily talk very simple language to let everybody understand, their vision and their opinion. Also conviction. Yeah, they have faith of what they do, and this is why they can easily persuade others with their vision, with their opinion. And as we said, extraordinary behavior. They usually achieve something normal people cannot achieve. In addition, and this is a very important ingredient in charisma, which is the self-confidence. They are extremely self-confident, and they can easily communicate this and transfer this to their followers. Another theory here is the transactional leadership theory. Very easy, it describes the leadership situation as a transaction between the leader and the follower. It is a give and take relationship. You do your work better, you achieve the task, you improve your performance, I will reward you. You get, some incentive, some reward. Very simple. The leader helps the followers identify what must be done to accomplish the desired results. So here the leader, support people to identify the organization goals or the work group goals. The leader takes into consideration the individual self-concept and self-esteem. So here the leader is familiar with the people. The leader is familiar with how people perceive themselves, especially the self-confident, self-concept, the self-efficacy, and also the level of self-esteem each employee has. The transactional approach uses the path goal theory as its framework. The Robert House path goal theory, it means the leader, diversify his or her style according to the situation, and the leader relies on the contingent reward. Here is the point. Here is the transaction. Contingent reward and on the management by exception. Contingent reward means what? People will be rewarded, but for a reason. And the only reason to reward the people is to perform better, to achieve goals. And this is why the transactional leaders usually use the management by exception. They do not intervene in what their people do. They just intervene in exceptional cases if it is needed, if the subordinates or the employees ask it for. Otherwise, they let people do the task, accomplish the goals the way they are. This is the transactional cost theory. It is a transaction, give and take relationship. The last theory, called the leader-member exchange theory. According to the theory, there is no consistent leader behavior across subordinates. If a leader has, for example, 6 or 8 subordinates, the leader may diversify his leadership style from one subordinate to another. So this is why people should understand, leaders should understand their people very well. Individually, each relationship has a uniqueness. The relationship between the leader and each one of his or her subordinate is totally unique. So there is no one uniform style of leadership can be used across different employees. People are different. In chapter 2, we studied individual differences. If we assume that people are different, they are not all alike. It means we should also use different leadership styles dealing with each one of the subordinates. This is why there is one-on-one relationships to determine subordinates' behavior. According to this, leaders usually classify their people into 2 groups, in-group and out-group. What's the difference? Here is the model. This is just a very simple organization structure. At the top, there is the leader, and this leader has 6 different subordinates, A, B, C, D, E, and F. But as you see here, the leader classified his followers into 2 groups. A, B, and C are in one group called the in group. D, E, and F in another group called the out group. This is not an organization structure. This is implicitly, leaders do it implicitly, Mr. A, B, and C, these are my inner group. These people are very close to me. Look at here. The leader here has a special relationship with each one of A, B, and C. If there is a dotted line from the leader to A, another one to B, a third one to C. It means A, B, and C, each one of these leaders has a certain personality characteristics, certain abilities, certain skills, and there is a certain task for each one of them. So the leader selects A, B, and C based on what? Based on the trust, mutual trust, and based on the high interactions. So here, the leader understands the personal capability of each one of his subordinates, the competence, and also the personality. Okay? So these are the inner group, the N group. If something happened, these people will be very willing, A, B, and C, will be very willing to stay with the leader until the end. Nobody will go home today because we have, a problem, because there is a transaction should be completed, finished today. A, B, and C are very willing to sacrifice themselves for the leader. But look at the other group, the out group, D, E, and F. These people called the out group. There is a solid line, and as you see here, the leader deals with these people according to the formal structure, the formal regulations and instructions. So nothing unique here in these people, D, E, and F. They are all equally, and they are dealt with according to the organization requirements, regulations, and the work routine. So these people called the out group. There is no special relationship, So which group is better, by the way? If you are subordinates, which group you prefer to belong to? The in group or out group? The in group, yes, these people will get many benefits from the leader, but this is not for free. They have to show, loyalty, and they have to show a commitment to the leader's goals and objectives, And this is people are usually in headache because they are on call. The leader can call any one of these people anytime, and he expects that the response will be positive. But D, E, and F, there is no headache at all. These people, they come to workplace, in the regular time and leave on the regular time, and the leader may not call them after the hours. But these people will be the last one to be rewarded, the last one to be promoted. Actually, this is not for free, Keep in mind that the boundaries between the two groups are not stable. The boundaries are very flexible. What does it mean? It means in one case, A, B, or C, for a certain reason, didn't show loyalty. Or say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say today after the hours because I have a social commitment. The leader may consider this as a negative sign. And this person later on may be in the out group. Or, on the other hand, in terms of D, E, and F, one of these people may show, sincere involvement in a certain problem. In the case of problem or a crisis, one of them, they said, no, I'm not going to go home until this crisis will finish, and go to the lead and say, I'm with you until this problem will finish. So one of these people next time will be in the in group. So the boundaries between the in and the out group is more flexible. This is the last, recently developed theory, and this is the last theory in leadership. Now, if there are any substitutes for leadership, I raised the question at the beginning of the lecture. Is really leadership important for organizations? Is there any circumstances in which leadership is not necessarily? Here is the answer. There are some substitutes of leadership. There are some situations, yes, leadership is not required. Leadership substitutes are factors that make leadership unnecessary or even impossible. How come? These are the conditions in which leadership is not needed. First, in the case of the cohesive work groups, what the meaning of cohesive work groups? The work group is very united. Very united. People have a very good team spirit. In a case of this strong team spirit, there is no leaders. There is no need for a leader to tell people what to do. They know what to do. If there is a very good, cohesive, there is a mutual understanding between a football team players, they need minimum interference from the coach. So if the leader, the work group is very cohesive, there is no need for leadership. Intrinsically satisfying task. If the task itself is, intrinsically satisfying. What the meaning of intrinsically satisfying? People feel satisfied just by doing the task activities, nowadays we're in Ramadan time, and the people may voluntarily, participate in charity organizations to collect money for needy people, to transfer things and food for needy people. If a group of people decided to do this charity work for the sake of Allah, so there is no need for leadership. Why? Because the task itself is intrinsically satisfying. Also, in the case of the high level of subordinate ability, experience, and knowledge. If people are knowledgeable if people are experts in what they do, if the people have the ability, the skills, what do you need leadership for? You know, if I brought a group of experts and I know that they are experts in solving a technical problem, do you think these people need somebody to tell them what to do? Definitely not. And this is why in the case of a group of experts getting together, so there is no need for leadership. These are the substitutes of leadership, and this is the last slide in the lecture, and also this is the last point in the course. Congratulations, the course is already done. You know, please stay home given these circumstances. Listen to the videos very well, and there is one more lecture. There is no any scientific material in it. We will just give you some instructions about the nature of the final exam, what we expect you to do. You know, we also will try to organize some quizzes before the final exam, and to give you, some sort of mock exam to be familiar with the system, with the types of questions. Inshallah, we will have an additional online meeting in order to explain all of these things for you. Thank you very much for listening to us, and I wish you the best from all my heart. Good luck, and inshallah, in the better circumstances, we will get face to face and have good time and good luck. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dr. Ali مسلم.